in the whole backstory, to take you back, when I became a nomad, I gave up everything. So that's the time I decluttered my house. I gave up my 30 plus sneaker collection. I gave up all my furniture and everything. So I was literally just me and a bunch of suitcases at that time.
There are days where he'll tell me to do something and I'll do it. But the times where I'm just like, why? Like most of the time, like I feel like I always need a reason to do something.
If you know me, I can sleep in every and any situation. It doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter if I'm starving, I haven't eaten for 3 days, like I will sleep. I couldn't sleep. And so I'm like, oh, I'm just scrolling on YouTube. Like I felt like God was saying, it's time to leave the job. But I'm like, nah, there's no way. We just got here. Like this was the dream. Like this was, like we've waited a whole year, like for like this is, you know? And then I open YouTube and I'm like, okay, let me just decompress. And it's like a meme video of like funny ways to quit your job. And I'm just like,
I would say when it comes to obedience, the moment you involve, ama when it comes to anything faith, the moment you involve logic, you have missed it.
So I stand and then they drive past and I'm like, okay, cool. So I get my phone again and then the car, you know, that's like slow-mo revert, like so they reverse. So he puts the window down and then he calls me. So I go and he's like, oh, meet my wife. Hi, how are you? Oh, so you're moving to them? I'm like, yeah. He's like, where are you going? I'm like, to the train station. And then his wife is like, so you're going, where are you going? I'm like, to the train station. Hi, I'm Wachuka Minor.
Hi, I'm Abbie Kimani, and welcome to the Unashamedly Saved podcast. We have loved the feedback you guys have given us in episode 1 and 2, even the threats. Yeah, we shall try to be consistent. But welcome back to episode 3. Wachuka, what has been your highlight for March so far?
We have to tell the truth.
Yeah.
I actually don't think, like, I feel like it's been one of those months that I've just been busy. Like, nothing out of regular life and work has happened. Yeah, so sadly, I don't have a highlight. What's yours?
I have 2 actually. Recently, I got to host my covenant brother had an event, and I got to be the host, which was pretty nice. Otherwise, itemia. Let's just say we were somehow stuck in the middle of the roads kukiwa kunanyesha, which was quite an adventure kwa sababu ya game ya Arsenal guy. Yeah, that was another highlight. It wasn't even, no, that was a funny adventure.
Yeah,
because sijui nini litudanganya tuende to watch game ya Arsenal and then kukanyesha, and now we were driving in flooded roads. Nasema tu hopefully tutafika safe. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. Although I'll take this moment to remind my co-host that we have an international audience. So just keep that in mind as we proceed.
Well noted. So today's episode is about obedience. I think the greatest thing, or one of, actually it is one of the greatest things, one of the most important things in your walk with God is obedience, because constantly God is speaking and he expects us to be. And the journey of faith, the journey of Christianity is a journey of obedience to the simple instructions, to the hard ones. And so today we want to start off from there. What is obedience? How does obedience look like? How has it been for us in our journey of obedience? Because I think, as you said in the first episode, us being here is a step of obedience. If it was up to us, I promise you, even today, we will not be here. But because God said so. So how does that exactly look like, and why don't we, all of us as Christians, so is it so hard for us to obey God? So we're going to try and debunk what that is. And hopefully by the end of this episode, you have gotten away with something. Yeah. You want to start us off?
I don't know. I guess maybe I could talk to how I relate with obedience, quote unquote. Like, for me, I think the fear of the consequence of disobedience is the reason I obey. Like, obviously there's the part for like reverence for God and desire to please God and all of that. But you know those times when it doesn't make sense, like, yeah, and you just have to get it done. And sometimes God will ask us to do things that make no sense. And maybe they will make sense one day, maybe they never will. So for me, I think just that, I wouldn't call it fear, but I'll say the fear of the consequences of disobedience. Like, that's what gets me like walking in obedience. And like, I feel like for me, I look at it as there's two sides. Like, there's times where you will disobey and there will be a consequence. And there's times when you'll disobey and there's mercy. But then you won't know which is which until like the consequence comes. So it's like for me, I'm like, you know what? I'd rather not know because I don't think it's worth the gamble. What about you?
Do you think that's a healthy way of relating with obedience to God?
I think so because like that. So okay, let me explain. It doesn't mean that every single time he asks me to do something, I just do it because I'm scared of what will happen if I disobey him. Because sometimes like it makes sense. What like yeah, like it makes sense in the grand scheme of everything why I would do those things, right? But then there's times where, say, God will say, go and talk to that person. And it's just like, I don't feel like talking to anybody. And in that moment, I don't have time to converse with God and ask him, why do you want me to talk to this person and all of those. And so in that moment, I will have to go because what if my disobedience, like, causes that other person to end up on a journey that they otherwise wouldn't have if I had walked in obedience? I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. So how do you relate with obedience?
Me, I think I am. Sitaki kusema the prodigal son. Me and God fight a lot. I think I don't know if it's being. It's not. Wacha tu nisekele kwa firstborn. I don't know if it's being a firstborn or just being independent. I just don't. It depends sometimes. There are days where he'll tell me to do something and I'll do it. But the times where I'm just like, why? Like most of the time, like I feel like I always need a reason to do something, especially for like instructions that don't make sense. But also one of the things that one of the things that help me is because part of my personality is because I don't think before I do. So I'll do it and then I'll be like, yeah. So that is also something that helps sometimes. So because I'll feel like, oh, because for me, mostly how God speaks to me is through feeling. Like I feel I need to do something so that I had a voice in my head or I think I need to do something. There's usually that unsettling feeling for me if depending on what the situation is. If let's say, remember recently we had a Kesha and so I don't know, one of my friends, she was at the back and I just saw her and I just felt like hugging her. I don't like physical contact with people as much. I was just like, hey, so I ignored it. And then I saw her, she was crying. I was like, okay, do I need to go hug her now? So then I went and hugged her. And then like 2 weeks later, she called me and she was like, you don't know how that hug healed me. And I was like, oh, yeah. So, and it's not that I thought about, I want to go hug her because I had hugged her when she came in. But it was this ones of, I don't know, I just feel like hugging her. So for me, that is how I usually know when God is speaking to me because, yeah, but also because of that, sometimes I'm usually like, oh, it's just my feelings. So we can have a very long back and forth with God. But at the same time, yeah, so I don't know, my relationship with obedience is very, one time it's 100, the other one it's 0.
So would you say then that that's healthy?
I think for a logical human being it is. But when it comes to faith, it's not. Like when it comes to like when God says move, you move knowing that he has a plan as to why you might not understand the reason. So you need to move. But when it comes to sometimes logic, You're just like, it's not okay. I will say when it comes to obedience, the moment you involve, Ama, when it comes to anything faith, the moment you involve logic, you have missed it. Because sometimes, 90% of the time, God is not a God of logic. Like he does not factor in your mind. Like somebody doesn't factor in your mind, but like he goes beyond your reasoning, your human reasoning. So every time you start to think about it from your perspective of this is how it needs to go, Ama, this is the most logical reasoning, it's not gonna make sense. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I think I could speak to maybe a personal journey. There was
Yes,
a
please.
season.
Okay. I want to hear this story. We all want to hear this story.
Okay. I'm going to ignore her for your sake. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, I think I could speak to a personal like experience, like a journey of like that one was like you either obey or you obey. There was no you can figure it out maybe. So for the story to make sense, I'll start in this. Yeah, I'll start in December of 2022. Graduated from my master's, and so the whole of 2023, I was obviously getting into the workforce and everything. I was in Australia at the time. I was getting into the workforce and trying to do things, not doing things like career wise, like trying to establish myself in my career and everything. But that was also around the time where God was calling me to him, and like I ended up in a season of isolation. And so that whole season was just like I was in transition, but to me it felt like I was transitioning to nothing and to nowhere. And I remember like those times where I'd be like, okay God, but like what's the point of me being here then if you're not gonna let me work? Like just let me go back home and like, we can do all this when I'm home, right? Because I still have like bills, I still have all that stuff, right? But then he was like, nah, it's not yet, time to go back and everything. At that time, actually, I hadn't been back for about maybe 2 years or a year and a half. So I hadn't been home for a while. So it was logical to like going back to logic, right? So anyway, long story short, I ended up now at a place where like my lease was ending. So I had to move out. But then like there was no like strategy. Like God wasn't like you can like move like to like your own place or whatever. So I was like a nomad, quote unquote, right? But then a few months in, yeah. So now in March is when I was like, you know what, God, I'm done. Like I'm going back home and everything. I remember even calling my dad. I was like, I'm coming back home. And then I was so surprised because I used to be like, if I tell my parents I want to come back home, I know they'll be like, yeah, cool. When do you want to come? And my dad was so against it. And he's like, no, why do you need to come? You haven't even figured out your life, your career, and everything. Like, why do you need to come home? What are you going to do when you come home? And I was just like, dude, what? So then I went back to God and I was like, wow. Like, you could have just told me that. Like, I didn't have to, like experience that conversation. But then, like, that was now God being like, yeah, nah, you're not leaving. And so I remember, like, for a week and a half, I was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm just going to, I'm not going to do, I'm not applying to jobs. I'm just chilling. And then I remember him now being like, okay, you can now get like your own place and everything. Like when I say my own place, it's like I mean like a lease. Like, you can live somewhere without like actually like permanently being there, yeah. And so everything happened very quickly. And then I had applied to a job like 2 or 3 weeks before. And I had actually applied not for the wrong thing, but I hadn't applied for what I essentially would ideally have done. And so in the span of a week, like everything lined up. Like I got the list for this place and everything. And then the people like at the job, they called me and they were like, oh, according to your experience, we feel like this role would suit you better. It was wild though, because it was like an entry level opportunity. But I had to do four rounds of interviews. It was crazy. Like I don't like you had to go to the first interview that was just like get to know you. Then the second one, which is like the technical one. Then there was another online one where they analyze like your skills, like your data analysis skills and all of that. And then there's now the final one. Like it was just, yeah. So for me, even through that journey, I was just like, God, like imagine the journey doesn't have to look like this, right? But because I had like learned to kind of trust him, quote unquote, you know, so that happened. And then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like I've finally got the opportunity to like work in the career. I was working at a marketing agency because for me, I felt like I could have done everything online. I was already freelancing and everything the year before and all of that. But then I felt like it was important to work in like a structured environment to just understand like the whole dynamic of like, running, say, quote unquote, ads for multiple companies at the same time and things like that. So I got the opportunity. It was great. I loved it. And then 2 months in, God is like, I want you to break your lease. I'd signed the lease for a year, right? So I'm like, yeah, okay. So I'm like, yeah, nah, it's not you. And then, when God is saying something and then he starts shouting, like the more, yeah. So he starts shouting and I'm like, okay, but like if I break my lease, because that's how, like in Australia, what happens is when you sign like a fixed term contract, if you break your lease, it's your responsibility to pay rent until the time you find someone to take over your lease. Like, yeah. So I'm like, Lord, like, what's the plan? And then he told me, just go back and look at your lease. So it just so happened that my landlord, like, got her son to, like, put in, like, the details. And he didn't take, like, it's a fixed term contract. He was like, any party can end the contract within. Yeah, like, give 4 weeks notice. Because in Australia, everything is weekly. We pay bills weekly. We pay rent weekly. I know, it's crazy. But, yeah. So, so I saw that and I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah, I had a plan all along. And I'm like, okay, but that doesn't mean anything. So obviously I tell my landlord and she's pissed. She's like, when you saw that, you should have told me. I don't know what. And I'm like, look, it was both our responsibility to make sure, like we both signed the contract. So like, it's not on me. And then obviously she was upset and everything. And so now I didn't have that like burden, pressure, whatever. And then now it's like, it's been like 2-3 weeks. And I'm like, okay, God, where am I moving to? And he just says Airbnb. And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, how do you explain to someone I'm moving out to an Airbnb, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. Like now it's like a fun adventure. I'm just like, So I feel like, I feel like I'm reliving my life again. And it's funny. Guys, I hope like you're actually getting something important from this. Like I promise the story is going somewhere. But anyway, so I go on the Airbnb app and I'm like, okay, what suburb? And like God doesn't say anything. So I choose like a bunch of suburbs like everywhere, like all around, and I just like find Airbnbs and like I in my quote unquote budget and everything, and I just leave it. Then a week before I had to now move out, I got a cold, like a cough and everything. And this is important because at my workplace we had a no sniffles policy. So if you were sick, like you were coughing or you had a runny nose, you had to work from home exclusively because if you come in and make everyone sick, then like we all just can't work efficiently. So literally for that last week, I was working exclusively from home. So that was important because that was also the week where I was packing up my house, like doing all of that. So it was helpful that I didn't have like the 1 hour commute to work and back in the morning, in the evening and everything. But then now it's 2 days until I have to move out. And the only instruction is Airbnb and I have nowhere to go. So I go, I check, and then like most of them are not available. And I'm like, okay, God, which one? And he doesn't say anything. So I'm like, okay, we'll talk tomorrow. So now this is the day before I have to move out. This is the time I'm supposed to get like a van to help me move. I don't even know where I'm telling them I'm moving to and all of that. And then on that day, there was only one Airbnb out of all the ones I had selected that was actually available. So God was like, yeah, that's where you're going, right? So I get the van and everything. I remember actually the next day, I finished work at 5. The van arrived, like moved everything. So I got to this Airbnb and I didn't even like it. Like it was one of the best ones in the list. It was just, yeah, like it wasn't great. And then it wasn't like you get the whole house. It was like a room in a house. So like there were other people who were like in rooms in the house. So yeah, like
You had a couch.
Oh yeah, like, no, like it's a fully furnished home, but then the way they've set it up is like they can have
things fit.
Oh, so in the whole backstory, sorry to take you back, when I became a nomad, I gave up everything. So that's the time I decluttered my house. I gave up my 30 plus sneaker collection. I gave up all my furniture and everything. So I was literally, it's just me and a bunch of suitcases at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you needed a van.
Yeah, to move. I had suitcases. I didn't have one suitcase.
Okay.
What's the issue?
I feel like a van for suitcases. Okay.
Would you rather I took an Uber XL?
Yeah. You are alone. Okay.
Yeah, that would have costed me hundreds of dollars. Like, I don't think
No,
I
it's
understand.
more expensive than a van.
Yeah, a van is just like a guy with a van, like, hey, help me move my stuff. And then he'll just
Oh.
charge you to move your stuff. And Uber XL is like the biggest Uber possible. Rush hour, traffic, distance. No?
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, so now I'm in this Airbnb and like it's chill. It's okay. Right? It was actually like the people who owned it, quote unquote, they didn't own it. They were renting. So they were renting, it was a family. They were renting out a 5-bedroom house. And then they were all living in one of the rooms because their kids were very small. And so they were renting out all the other rooms. So I thought they owned the space. So it was like fine. Like she was pretty chill after the first week because I only like got the Airbnb for 1 week. After that, she was like, oh, if you want to stay, like you can just like we can just agree and then you can pay me and like we don't have to go through the app and everything because the app takes like most of the money actually goes to the app. Like not the So it was fine until she was like, now who I thought was the landlady was like, oh, actually we have to move out by the 26th or something because the owner just sold the house. And I'm just like, what? Yeah. So essentially, she's like, we're moving out because even though, like, for them, because they had a fixed term contract, like, they would have been allowed, even if the house is sold, to stay until the end of their lease. But they were like, we'd rather move now than at the end of the year when, like, housing will probably be more expensive and everything. So since we're going to have to move, we might as well just move now. So I was like, okay, cool, good. We're moving again. But maybe I'll take us back a week before. Because I got to this Airbnb, I think on a Wednesday or a Thursday. On Thursday night, I couldn't sleep. If you know me, I can sleep in every and any situation. It doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter if I'm starving, I haven't eaten for 3 days, like I will sleep. I couldn't sleep. And so I'm like, oh, I'm just scrolling on YouTube. Like I felt like God was saying, it's time to leave the job. But I'm like, nah, there's no way. We just got here. Like this was the dream. Like this was, like we've waited a whole year. Like for like this is, you know. And then I open YouTube and I'm like, okay, let me just decompress. And it's like a meme video of like funny ways to quit your job. And I'm just like, so it's the middle of the night and God is like, yeah, you're leaving. And I'm like, okay. The timing was off because like now at work, that was the timing when we do like the reports like for all. So essentially like I was running social media. I was doing social media management not social media management. I was paid advertising, social media management, everything to do with like digital marketing for like 5 companies. So at the end of the month, like towards the end of the month, or early the next month, it was early June, yeah. So like that's when you do like the reports to tell them how the ads have worked through the week, through the month, and all of that stuff. So the timing of that in my head, I'm like, if I leave now, the people, like my colleagues, will have to now do all that for their companies and for mine as well. So already I'm just like, it's just not ideal. Like it doesn't make sense. And he's like, no, you're leaving. And I'm like, okay, cool. I have to give, I think, 1 or 2 weeks notice if I want to leave, because at that time I was still in my probationary period. I had only been there for 3 months essentially. So technically, yeah, like I didn't have to give like a super long like notice, like I'm leaving, right? Why do I feel like this whole part has become my story? Anyway, so he's like, yeah, just like plan a meeting with your lead for tomorrow and let them know that you can't continue working. And I'm like, okay, so like, am I giving notice and then I'm leaving after the notice? Or he's like, no, you're leaving now. And I was just like, okay. So essentially, how it worked, like our calendars were all accessible. So if you want like a meeting with like your team lead, you just go to their calendar, see when they have a slot, and then like put it in and request. So for me, I was like, oh, I'll just request it and then like hope she doesn't see it because it was like I put like really early in the morning. But then she saw it and she accepted it. And then I was like, okay, God, what am I saying? Like what am I telling her? But yeah, so the meeting started and I was like, hi, so I can't continue working. Yeah. And so I thought she was going to ask me questions. And she was just like, it's okay. And she literally just started like running through the checklist of all the things I needed to do. She's like, okay, so we're going to need you to hand over all of your this, all of your that, like all your logins, all your this. And I was just like, okay. And then she's like, so I need to talk to HR to find out because you're supposed to like give a 1 week notice and everything, stuff like that. And I'm like, I can't work beyond today. And she's like, okay, I'll have to find out from HR. So then we finished the meeting. HR calls me and they're like, okay, if you're not going to work for that week, you have to forfeit your salary, something, something, something. And I'm like, okay. And then they're like, write a letter to that effect. So I write a letter, I send it to HR, and then they're like, okay. So now I had to hand over everything that I had for like the companies and everything, all the logins, all the this, all of that. By 2 p.m. that day, everything was done. And yeah, I no longer had my house or my job. And I remember because the suburb I moved to, though, it was very beautiful. It's like in the home, I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, anyway, so like if you walked out, like there's a lot of lakes around, there's a lot of parks. So you can just go sit in nature and like, yeah. So I was like, let me just go to the park. And then I stood there and I just looked into the sky and I was like, excuse me, God, like, what are we doing? And then he's like, see, it wasn't that hard. And I'm like, the point is not that short. Like, what are we doing? So now we come back to now that week where I am having to move out. So I have to move out by that date. And I'm asking God, okay, so where am I going? And he's not saying anything. He's literally not saying anything. Like, silence. Like real silence. Not he said and I'm not listening. Total silence. And so now, like, my routine was I'd just go to the park, read the Bible, watch the ducks, watch the kids, go back home. Like that, literally, that was my life. And I used to be like, okay, maybe like someone, like I used to tell God, I'm like, okay, if you want me to go, like to move here, like someone like passing will just say yes so loudly. Like I was so desperate.
Look so much good. If I hear the word purple, I know you have said. If he's the one, he will wear a red t-shirt.
Okay, no. For me, I just needed like a sense of direction, essentially, like quote unquote. I don't know why I'm crying. But yeah, so none of that happened. And so essentially,
you did not hear the yes loudly.
Yeah. By I think about 2 days or 3 days before now, I had to leave because now the cleaners had to come and like clean the property and everything. Now the family moved out. And then every other person who was renting a room moved out. So I was in this big house by myself. First of all, I'm scared of the dark. And then the way this house is set up, like when you walk in, it's like one long hallway. So the master bedroom is here, and then it's a long hallway with like all the rooms and the bathrooms. And then now like down there is where like there's a living room and the kitchen. So if you just happen to need to leave your room in the middle of the night, it's just a dark hallway. Hey, those were tough days. I'm telling you, I used to sleep and hear like things outside my window. Like, okay, it's not funny. It's really not. God, the things we've done. But then, now that I think about it, like when this story ends, I still don't know what the purpose of all of that was, but we'll get there. Anyway, so it's now the day before I have to leave. I'm like, God, okay. So at that point, I've taken it upon myself. I've gone on like, there's this app called Flatmates where you can find like flatmates and everything, like where you can stay with other people and things like that. Like I've considered other Airbnbs. I've like, And then I remember that day I decided to go to a different park. I remember there's a lot of parks and everything. So I went to one where I found it had a basketball court. So I was excited. Not that I had my ball at that time. I had decluttered it. But yeah, I know, sad, right? When I was there, I was seated in a way that I could see the road. And so I was just sitting there, I was just worshiping. Because at this point, I'm like, you know what, Lord? I mean, just hang out. There's nothing to do. Like, and a van passed. And on the back window, it was written on time. And I saw it. And I was like, nah, God, I don't want to hear. Like, everything else I wanted to hear, you didn't tell me. So I don't want to hear. So I chill again. And then the van passes again. And then it just parks there. So I see it. And then it drives off. And I'm like, okay, I hear. God, you are an on-time God. Good for you. It doesn't work for me in this situation. Like, where am I going? So I went to bed. Backtrack. Just 2 days. 2 days before that, when I was leaving the house to go to the park, some guy came to the door. So I didn't know the names of like my landlord or whatever. I think they were Vietnamese or something. So I
I don't know. In my head, I knew they were Vietnamese.
Yeah. So I didn't know how to say their names. And then the lady would go to work sometimes, the guy would stay with the kids. So yeah, so when I'm leaving, he asks me like, is she in? And I'm like, I don't know, but I think the guy's in. And he's like, no, I'm asking like, is she in? And I'm like, I don't know. So it just so happens like while I'm walking, he starts asking me questions. He's like, he's curious about me. And he's like, oh, where are you from? Blah, 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 all of that. And so he just asked a bunch of stuff once he found that I'm from Kenya. That was around the time when Gen Zs were being wild out here. I think it was around that time, or there was something happening in Kenya.
June. Yeah, it was in
June,
June.
yes, yeah. So he was telling me all about that. And then he started talking about like Africans. But when I look at this man, he doesn't necessarily like present as an African. So I'm very confused because he's talking about like our people. Like, you know, us Africans, the way. And I'm very confused. Like towards the end, he was like, oh, I'm from South Africa. So I was like, oh, okay. Because he's like Indian, like his descendants like moved there and everything, but like his grandparents and everything are from there. Long story short, in all of that African story that I could not care less about at that time, he saw my Bible and he was like, oh, you're a Christian. And then he's like, yeah, it was a long talk that for me was meaningless. But God, right? So anyway, long story short, he was like, oh, they're moving. So where are you moving to? I'm like, actually, I don't know. And then he's like, oh, you know, me and my wife, like we have a couple rooms in our house. I'll take your contact and then I'll let you know something. So I never thought about it. I was like, so I prayed about it and I was like, God, am I going there? And then he still didn't say anything. So I was just like, you know what? Like, I've tried. Like, honestly, whatever. So now this is the night before. I call Apostle. I called him and I told him, if you don't hear from me in the next 24 hours, I was so dramatic. Yeah, and he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know where I am and I don't know where I'm going. And so if you don't hear from me in the next 24 hours, just know, like, it's been real. Like, it was a good ride. And he's like, okay, tell me everything. I don't know why we think this is funny, but it's really not. So then I told him the story and then I told him about the guy. And then I actually knew, like, their house was literally, like, the next house up there. She was like, go check the house. No, he was like, okay, call the guy and ask him, like, if you can go there. I call the guy, he doesn't answer. He's like, call again. I call the guy, he doesn't answer. He's like, go to the door. And I'm like, okay, are you staying on the phone? He's like, yeah. So I get outside. Remember, first of all, I had to get out of my room into the dark hallway just to get to the door. And then I look into their house and it's pitch black. And then they used to have 2 cars and one wasn't there. So I was like, I don't think they're home. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, there's only 1 car and the lights are off. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, okay, so what do we do? He's like, it's fine. Like, you'll be fine. And I'm just like, okay. I don't even remember what solution he gave me, but like, so I woke up the next day. I have to leave. By 10 a.m., the cleaners are coming. I need to be out. So I woke up. At that time, I decluttered more. I was left with just, like, I fit all, like, my entire life into 1 suitcase. If you know me, that is just wild to think about. But I was like, look, if I'm going to be on the streets, like... Yeah, anyway. So long story short, I packed everything. I threw out all my trash. And then it was one of those, like, you leave the key in the house and then you lock it and you step out knowing you can't go back in. And then I stood out there and I was like, oh, God, so where am I going? It's not bad. And I was going nowhere. Like, I literally didn't know where I was going. So then I'm like, look, I'm going to take an Uber to the train station. Because there's a train station close by. Because I'm like, eventually I'm going somewhere. So if I'm at the train station, like, I'm at the right place to go. Yeah. But then just before I order the Uber, like, I just feel like I need to wait. So I'm like, okay. So I look up and I see the couple, they're leaving the house, they're driving. So in my head, I'm like, nah, I'm going to ignore it. Because, like, I called him twice yesterday and he didn't answer. So now it's just creepy. Like, if I'm just standing watching to be like, are they going to talk to me? Yeah. So I stand and then they drive past. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I get my phone again and then the car, you know, that's like slow-mo reverse, like. So they reverse. So he puts the window down and then he calls me. So I go and he's like, oh, meet my wife. Hi, how are you? Oh, so you're moving today? I'm like, yeah. He's like, where are you going? I'm like, to the train station. And then his wife is like, so you're going, where are you going? I'm like, to the train station. And she's like, no. And I'm like, yeah. Like, I'm going to the train station and then when God tells me where to go, I'll go. And she's like, no. And then he literally gets out of the car, grabs my stuff, puts it in the boot, and she's like, get in the car. I'm going for a 10-minute appointment, and then we'll go to the house and talk. So I was just like, okay. So yeah, I just entered the car. We went to her appointment. We came back. And then now we're like seated at the dining. And it's like an interrogation because I feel like I have to explain myself. And in my head, I'm like, yo, pick me up off the street. Like, I'm not the one who has to explain. Right? Like, I'm literally not the one who has to explain why we're here. But then, so now I can give both sides of the story. In that moment, the reason she said I couldn't go to the train station is because, like, in that moment, God told her, you're the answer to her prayer. And so for her, she knew, okay, yeah, like, you're not going to the train station, right? And so then the on-time thing, like, God was just flexing. Because, like, you know, like, when we think, like, okay, on-time God, we're like, okay, yeah, like, if it's meant to be this month, it's going to be this month. But, like, the exact timing of just when I've stepped out is right when they're driving out. Like, that, for me, like...
It was on time.
Yeah. And so now we're talking and everything, and I'm telling them my story and all of that. And they're like, oh, actually, they had considered. Because their situation... Okay, maybe I should explain. They're like... my parents' age, so like 60s, right? So they have all the kids who've moved out and everything, living in their own apartments and everything. So they have this big house and it's just them. So they had said like, oh, we have a lot of empty rooms. Like we could have rental income and everything. It's something they considered for a couple of months, but then they never actually got to it. And then the reason why the previous day, like just to exonerate him, he never answered my calls, he never called me back. They had gone for Bible study, like Connect. And then he forgot his phone at home. By the time he got back, it was after midnight. And then when we met, it was morning, like it was morning rush, get to the appointment and everything. So he was planning to get back to me. It just so happened that God, brought us together before he could. And so he was now telling me the story of how the day he met me, he went back home and he was so excited. He was telling his wife about me and all of that. And like she was listening, but she wasn't listening because like when all that happened, like he had brought a guest home, but then she didn't know about it. And so like she's pissed in her head. She's like, I don't want to listen. Like, you know. And apparently that day, like he, like after after I told her everything and all that, like he actually stormed off and he was like, the problem with you is that you're too busy to hear what God is saying or something like that. And so now she's even more pissed because she's like, what are you trying to tell me? I'm not listening to God and all of that. Like it was actually so dramatic because they were so open like about their life and their journey with God as well. But long story short, now that's why they never got back to me because he was like, I'm not even going back to her about it because she couldn't care less. And she didn't think much into it because she's like, you brought it to me at the wrong time. Like that was not the right time to talk about, like type of thing. And so we just talked and they were like, yeah, we're happy to have you, right? Like you just pay us whatever you were going to pay at the Airbnb and everything. And yeah, so I moved into their daughter's room and, daughter's room. Sorry. If you know, you know. But yeah, it was a very weird space. I had gotten used to being by myself. And then because they're older and they're African, they had this sense of feeling like my parents. So there were expectations of like, oh, we're having dinner at this time, come sit with us at the table. And for me, that was like, we don't even do that at my parents' house. Like sometimes I'd be like, oh, they'll have dinner and then I'll go eat later and they'll literally call me and be like, oh, dinner is served, come have dinner and stuff like that. And honestly, like it wasn't bad. I enjoyed being there because like they took care of me, obviously, because like, you know. But also, I then now came to learn that in that season, God needed me to be in their home for so many reasons. But one of the main ones was there's a ladies' ministry that she's part of or like second in charge. I don't know how to say that. And in that year, because the founder of the ministry was doing so much, like was focused on so many other things for the ministry, she had to be the one to literally plan an entire like women's retreat. And it was a lot. And so like God literally positioned me there specifically for us to make that happen. And like sometimes I'd be like, okay, but God, like what about the things that I want to work on? Right? But he's like, no. And that was also around the time when God started teaching me that sometimes like it's not about you. Like you can be in an entire season for years and it's not about you. It's not about what you want. It's not about what you care about. It's not about what you like. It's about what I want. And the whole crazy story, I feel like sometimes I wonder like if I didn't move out, if I continued to stay at my job, like what would have happened? Because at no point did I ever lack, right? Like the Lord, he took care of me because I'm a daddy's girl, right? But looking back actually on that journey, I wouldn't necessarily say that I can point to specific reasons why. Like I can give a breakdown of, yeah, this is why it had to be like that and the journey had to look like this. But for me, I look at it as God had to train me to learn how to, one, obey him and to obey him swiftly. Because there's going to be a time in my life where the instruction is going to come and I don't have even 15 seconds to ask God what. And so he had to train me in the hardest way possible because I'm also like you. I'm the kind of person, if it doesn't make sense, like why? But he's like the journey I have you on, like the places I'm going to have you in, sometimes you're going to have to just go because I said. And so I don't know what the point of that whole story was, but that was a journey where my obedience, my faith was stretched. And honestly, I think I'm a better person for it.
Yeah.
Like looking back, like I made new connections. I don't know. I think it was, yeah.
How do you think it shaped you as a person?
Oh, I learned how to let go. I learned how to let go. When I was moving out of my house, end of 2023, early 2024, January of that year, had furnished. Like, I was like, I'm a big girl now. I got a 2-bed apartment. One was going to be my office. The other one, yeah. I literally went to IKEA, bought everything for the house, brand new everything. Like, because I had saved up for it, right? Save, guys. Sometimes your savings.
My savings saved me. Like today morning, they have saved me.
Yeah, but so essentially, number one, having to, end of that year, God is like, I need you to start letting go of things. Because obviously at the time, I would never have known that God was preparing me for the journey he was going to take me on from March, right? But he knew. And so like, end that year, he's like, oh, you need to start. Because now I had 2 wardrobes. Like, girl. Yeah. Anyway. So I had to start letting go of a lot of things. And then I had to let go of even more things when I now moved to this Airbnb and everything. And so I think that was the season where God, like, you know how you hold on to things? I wouldn't say I'm a hoarder. Maybe you could say that because at that time, like half of my wardrobe was clothes that used to fit me before that I was like, oh, when they start fitting me again and then like they're still not fitting and everything. But like for me, I was very, like they were saying, like I had a sneaker collection that I built for so many years. And the fact that today out of that collection, I don't have a single pair. Like obviously I've started another collection now. Yeah. But yeah, like I learned how to, you look like you want to say something.
I don't. Okay. I was about to ask you how much was the sneaker collection?
Yeah.
So that they understand why the letting go was.
Let's just say.
Ngenua shamba kwetu na your sneakers.
No, it's not that dramatic. Let's just say they were all authentic. Yeah. And yeah. No, I can't, for the sake of my street cred.
Huh?
I can't, yeah. But yeah. I think actually my jersey collection hurt me more. That Mitchell and Ness Kobe Bryant finals jersey, that one hurt me. But you know what? Yeah, so God had to like teach, like I feel like for me it was a letting go thing. And I feel like letting go is coming up again, even though it was in the previous episode. And so now, like if quote unquote God was like, okay, I want you to donate everything you own. Like I wouldn't care. Because the things that I cared the most about, I already lost them, quote unquote. And I can never get them back, which is a whole story for another day. Because like the jersey collection, I was planning to like rebuild it, like how I'm rebuilding my sneaker collection. And God was like, no. Like now, like I think another aspect of obedience, because like for me personally, I don't think it's that deep that I shouldn't or should have like rebuilt my jersey collection, right? When I say jersey collection, I mean like my NBA jerseys. Because again, if you remember from episode 1, I'm a basketball fan. Lakers, to be precise. Actually, we're on a 6-game win streak right now. leading up into the playoffs. And we've been playing very well. But that's not important. But then for me, the Lord was literally like, no, you can't rebuild the jersey collection. And I was like, why? And he was like, because when you take on the likeness or the image or whatever of another person, you don't understand. You know, like how, this story could go very left. I think let's talk about this another time. Yeah. I think this specific part, because I feel like it will go into like consecration and a lot of other things. But this is one of the things, like I would say, like for me personally, I'm still fighting with God about. Not fighting with, but like quietly arguing with him for like, but what's the worst thing that could happen? You know? But I feel like I've been talking too much. So I want to hear about a journey that you've had with God.
Mine is not as long as Maureen's. But I think before even I give my story, I will say the same way you're talking about obedience, like everyone has their own different consecrations. Obedience doesn't look the same for everyone. For you, God might tell you, I don't know, like, so there was a time, let's say, where I used to live, and every time I would go to school, there's a place where they have really good samosas. Wow, I need to go buy those samosas. Alafu ni samosa za ndengu. But the way they slap. Yeah. So, and then at that point, God was like, talk to someone, like the guy who was in front of me. And I was just like, listen, I'm not talking to this person. And remember, I kept on asking God, like, why do you want me to talk to this person? And so in my head, I didn't talk to them. I just continued on my way because I don't know how to talk to people. Like me randomly striking a conversation with someone. It's just, I was like, imagine Mungu. No. So the whole time I was walking towards the stage, I was just thinking, like, why? And I actually suffered the consequence of it before the day ended. But I kept on wondering, like, you see, that might not be such a big instruction. Or sometimes it just involves you. God can tell you, I was about to put myself on the spot about sugar. Like, don't eat sugar. It does not affect anyone else, right? It's just about you. But you find that is your consecration. So obedience doesn't necessarily look the same for you and another person. God might permit someone else to do that, but for you, He doesn't permit you to do that. So it's for you. Obedience is not a two persons thing. And I think that's why cults come up is because people make doctrine out of their personal instruction. Because for you, God might tell you, I want you to be wearing long dresses. And now it becomes a doctrine. You start building it up as a doctrine that the Lord said that every woman should wear a long dress. But it was just your own personal consecration. The same way even for the Nazarites, that God was like, don't shave their heads. It was not a universal thing that none of us should shave our heads, and none of us, hey, do not drink alcohol. I was about to say none of us should drink wine. But that was an instruction that He gave for this, like for Nazarites specifically. And so I've come to realize that why most cults, if you look, it's not that they have deviated, it's just that they misunderstood what God said. Because you might find like the person, like God told them, for you, I don't want you. There's certain places I don't want you to step into. There's certain people I don't want you talking to. There's certain people or there's certain spaces that I don't want you in. Like you have to live, let's say you're left confined to this thing. John the Baptist, he was in the wilderness and his ministry thrived in the wilderness. His ministry, he was eating locust.
And honey.
Unajua locust ni dede. Hey. Yeah. So when you look at, no, dede ni grasshopper. But zinafanana. Locust ni
They're in the same
brown.
family.
Yeah. So, like when you look at it, when he could have easily made a doctrine out of it, but that was his own personal life, and he stayed. And I think obedience shapes your destiny in terms of where your life is headed. Will like how you obey instructions will determine where your life is headed, because at the end of the day, right now you might not see where or how this instruction makes sense, but in the grand scheme of things, you'll realize it was all for a greater purpose. So even obeying the little instructions, like going to church early, being church on time. On time, guys, on time. It's just the past 2 Sundays. I've always tried to be on time. But you will find that at the end of the day, it builds up to a bigger thing. Because sometimes, I think more times than not, God makes us do things just to see if we'll obey. They make absolutely no sense. But he just wants to see, will you obey me? And at that point, you'll be like, it doesn't add up to anything in the future, but it's stretching your capacity to obey. It's stretching you to actually believe him. Like, where he will tell you, right now, this doesn't make sense, but you'll just obey. And the more you do that, even for things that don't make sense, it becomes easier for you to obey without questioning. So when the time finally comes, is giving you a crazy instruction, you're just being like, okay, I don't know the reason, but fine. Even in the previous years, I've been doing things with absolutely no reason to them, but now I will do them. And I always say that God is not a waste of time, nor resources. He can never waste your life. So even with the instructions that he gives that look very, like, not even mediocre, that look like they don't make sense, he's not a waste of time and resources. Like, he can't just play around with your life and leave it. Yeah. I'll shorten my story. So my story is about actually moving churches. I think this is a conversation probably I had with my parents. Even I feel like people from my previous church, when they watch this, they probably don't know why I moved churches. How I moved churches, I think it backdates to Mr. That was 2023. And then that was the time I actually met Apostle. And so I started following the church on like Instagram and everything. And I actually liked the church. But then I started telling myself that, hey, why church gonna vibes? So I was like, the church has good vibes. I was like, one day I'll go to visit. But I never did. But I would watch Deeper Life. I used to watch the Sunday services, everything. But then at that point is when I realized I was very, let me say, nutrient deficient when it comes to being fed.
Even in real life, sorry. But story for another day.
I was very chubby. Let me tell you, hey.
It doesn't mean it's because you
Fasting is the one that has made me nutrient deficient.
Being chubby doesn't mean you're
No, I used to be very healthy. Did I stay with my parents? No, I didn't. But I used to stay at my aunt's place for a very long time. I used to go on like Monday evening. I come back to my house on Sunday evening. I sleep for one night and then I go back to my house. So in short, my parents were paying rent for my things. But yeah. So I used to tell myself, hey, if I go to this church, it'll be because of vibes. So I actually never, I was just like, I'll go visit one time. And then also I was saying I was nutrient deficient is because I think that time, 2022, 2021, is when now I started, I had been serious with God. But now you see those ones of, you're serious, but you're also lukewarm. Like I'm serious with God and everything. And remember there's a statement that my Guka always said. He used to tell us, if you're not growing, you're decaying. There's no stagnancy. If you're not growing, you're decaying. So I used to be like, I think that is what woke me up. I was like, hey, I don't think I've been growing. And at that time, I was also a leader. Hey, let me tell you, wow, my leadership journey, it requires a whole book. But at that time, I was a leader of youth. So it was like heading a youth church. So now I actually needed to be in the word. I needed to. So how I used to prepare my sermons. I used to prepare the sermons in the morning, Sunday morning or Saturday night. And I promise the whole week I have not prayed. I have not read the word. Like, and I remember every time, so I still have that sermon notebook. I will go back and read the notes and they will minister to me. I'm like, God, you're a God of mercy. If you ministered to people through my notes, you're a God of mercy. So at that point, I started realizing I was very nutrient deficient. Like I was feeding from a lot of places, because I lacked that one being fed. So, because my Sunday, I will go to church, will be preached and everything. When I come back home, I'll watch Koinonia. I know the time. Apostle Salman climbs the pulpit at 8:45 p.m. Kenyan time. I promise you, go check. Ikifika 8:40 ndio ingia Koinonia. I promise you, ndio time anapandanga stage. Like that is how. So after I finish, so when I come back from church, I'll watch Prophet Cynthia's sermon that for that Sunday. Then I watch Koinonia, and then on Monday, I used to watch, what's his name, Pastor Michael Todd. Let's just say I was feeding from, and then I would watch Apostle. You see, I had a lot of intake of the word. So, and then at that point, but then, so, how I started, oh my God, I feel like this story has just gone left. But, so early 2024. So, and then I came to Rain City, end of 2023. I had 48 hours of prayer. And so I came for the prayers. My reason for coming for the prayers was just, I was, let's say, in a very, very bad place. And I was just like, imagine God. So I was either going to go to Ushago or go. So I actually decided that morning, tukiwa kwa gate, tukienda Ushago. I told my parents, I'm going for a prayer service. And for the first time, my dad did not argue. Because me, if you do not tell my parents, my father specifically, 2 days in advance or a week in advance where you're going, I promise you're not going anywhere. You are not. So I just told him at the gate. So I gave them my things. They took them to Shago. I was like, I'm going for a prayer service. I was like, okay. And I went. And I think that was, it was a really transformative time for me. And so I was like, okay. And then we went for a mission at the end of the year. Also, I don't even know how I found myself in that. One day I'll give the proper story of how I joined Rain City. But so now my journey of obedience now started when God told me to move churches. I was like, absolutely not. Like I literally felt like Abraham, leave your house, leave your family, leave your brothers and sisters and move to a land that I will show you. I was like, listen, you remember the video for the movie night? So I remember I watched that video. So when like the movie night happened and everything, because I was supposed to go for the movie, I don't even know. My parents are like, why are you going in the night? And then
the one where the dress code was streetwear.
Yeah. And I was like, God, you see how the pastors are dressing? Me, Mr. Survival. Hakuna haja niwadanganye. I was like, me, I don't say I don't care how I look. Me, I never, like genuinely, as long as I'm comfortable, I move. And I think that's one thing we have fought with Apostle about. He's always like, can you please? So I was just like, imagine me, I will not survive. And then outside looking in, Rain City is such a bougie church. Like ni kanisa ya ma rich kids. I was like, me, Mr. Survive. Me kwanza mimi mdomo yangu. I will not survive. I was like, me, I'm not moving. And also, I was like, I have no reason why I'm moving. No one has hurt me. I don't have any problem with where I am right now. Why am I moving? And also, I had never imagined myself moving from that church. Like it was, you see those churches where we used to say when you're told that when you get married, you move to your husband's church. I was like, my husband will join me. I am not leaving that. What do you mean? And so and then at that time, we had lost Guka. So I was just like, I can't leave right now. And then it was also beginning of the year and I was still the head youth. I was like, so my mom was also, I remember when I told my mom, she was like, we can wait until the end of the year and then you properly hand over. So between now and the end of the year, you'll have like put in place proper structures for you to hand over. And I was just like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. God was like, no, you have to move. So yeah, God was like, nah, you're moving. And so even before I told my mom, so I was like, you know what, I'm not going to tell them first because I was like, maybe I'm hearing my own things. And for me, it wasn't at a loud voice. It wasn't at I remember at that time, I was taking people through the book of Exodus. No, I was actually reading Exodus. I don't know. So every time I was reading Exodus, it was just like, yeah, you're moving. I'm like, I don't want to move. And I remember I told God before the whole story. So at that point, we had lost Guka. And we had lost Guka, I think, 2 years. That was 2024. So
maybe
2 years.
Explain who Guka is.
Oh, so Guka is, so the church I was in, Guka was the founder. So it's not that my biological guka, but he's my guka. If you tell me otherwise, we're going to fight. So, because he was the grandfather figure that I knew in my life, because my dad's dad died when he was young. My mom's dad, he's still alive, going to 100. Let me tell you, that man. But we never had a relationship. Fine enough, we started talking last year. And it was just, yeah. So we never had, but he was the constant grandfather figure that I knew. And he was I remember when he passed on, we were having a conversation with now one of his grandkids. And I just like, I don't know if you ever asked me, because when I remember I was in school and I wasn't called on phone, I was just told someone had died. And in my head, I thought about everyone else but him. I was like, that man was a superhuman. Like, how can Guka die? He was like the best he was truly a grandfather. And so he had passed on. And so it felt like there was a gap left in the church. Also, his passing was very abrupt because it was over COVID and stuff. Like on Sunday, he's fine. He just got sick. Monday, he's gone. So it was very, okay, that has happened. So it's not that there was any succession plan or anything. So the church was left in chaos. And so now at that point, so I'm leading the youth church, let's call it youth church. And they're like, so who's our spiritual covering? I didn't even know there was a concept of a spiritual covering, guys. Because me, I always knew Guka will be there my whole life. So I'm like, there's something called spiritual father. I was like, I don't know. And so it was a whole tussle and everything. And I remember that day I asked Apostle, what is a spiritual father? Because I was like, imagine, he's the only person I can ask. Because me in my head, I never thought my dad was my spiritual. I didn't even know there was something as a spiritual father. I thought like there are pastors. Me, my father is my pastor. And Guka is my overall pastor. And we move on like that. And so we got on a call. And I remember the first thing he told me was like, you're supposed to be in Rain City. I was just like, yeah, I do. But I'm not coming right now. I was like, why? So the whole conversation changed from what is a spiritual father to why you're not joining Rain City. So we had a whole conversation. I was like, no, just go speak to your parents. And I remember the following day, I think we had the conversation on Wednesday. I was like, okay, fine, I'm going to go speak to my parents. I was like, okay, speak to them and give me a report. I'm like, okay, fine. So I went home, I spoke to my parents. So coincidentally, God had told my parents to leave. And so it didn't feel, so I remember when I told my parents, my dad was like, I knew you were leaving. I was like, how did you even know? I was like, I don't know, I just knew you were going to join that church sometime. I was like, okay. I was like, also as we are leaving. Let me tell you, it gave me the confidence of the year. I was like, okay, fine, we're going to leave. So I waited, and then because they wanted us, it would have felt weird for me to leave and then my parents leave. So we were like, we're going to leave as a family. So till today, people think I'm in the same church as my parents. I promise you we're not in the same church. So that was also a nini. And I remember at that time, it didn't make sense why I was leaving churches. It still did not make sense for a few months later. And I remember when I came to Rain City, I asked God, why do you want me here? It's the same statement that I usually say. If the purpose of something is not known, abuse is inevitable. Because like, I don't want to be here for vibes. Because you can come to church for vibes. Wow, the praise and worship can make you vibe, you forget what you can. And I remember God gave me why I was there. I was like, okay. And then a few months later, Gen Z started. Gen Z Loves Jesus started. If you want this merchandise, please reach out to me. I promise it's not expensive. Thanks. I keep the way I market this thing. But yeah, a few months later, Gen Z started. Gen Z Loves Jesus started. And I was just like, okay, now. I think at that time, it was like I was telling my mother, now you see what would have happened if I had stayed until December. Because Gen Z Loves Jesus. Loves Jesus started in October. I was like, I would have moved now last year, January. And I was just like, sometimes I think in that moment, especially moving churches, that was a really, really hard transition for me. I remember there were times I used to come to church and I'm just so tired. Like I would come to church and be like, God, I don't want to come here. I don't want to do all these things. I know because I didn't like the church. Just like I miss my people. I miss the people I have grown up with. These are my people. So I genuinely felt how Abraham felt when he was told, leave everything to a land I will show you. Because I didn't know what was in store for me. And so, yeah, that's to say sometimes obedience is really hard and you'll never see the full picture until you're on the other side. Because now I see why, and I would not trade it for any other thing. Now in this place that I'm standing, but then if you told me, because I remember there are times where I would threaten to go back to my previous, the number of times I threatened that, I would be like, mnachota sikufukuzwa kanisa yetu, mi naenda kanisa yetu. So the number of times I did that, I was like, imagine God, I don't know. Like it was such an uncomfortable stretching for me. Because like this is such a new space. It requires me to outgrow what I have known. Because me, where I was very comfortable. But now there's another, and the stretching did not come as like this. The stretching came like this. And I was just like, listen, I was not prepared for this. And so stretching, obedience can be really hard. And it doesn't make sense. And sometimes it's those ones of, imagine God, I don't want to. And sometimes the fear, I think one thing we want to touch on was the fear of, sometimes the fear is greater than how you want to obey. Like you feel so scared to move. And that fear, like the valley, in Itonga, the valley of the shadow of death. I will not fear the valley. I will not fear, for you are with me.
Even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil.
Yes.
Your rod and your staff, they comfort me.
You will not fear because that's a shadow of death. I believe fear is just an illusion. That it's not just when you say that the opposite of fear is faith, but I genuinely feel like fear is a dirty glass that inafanyanga, like it makes you not see until you wipe away the fear, then you can clearly see. It just dirtifies the perspective. So sometimes the fear might be greater, but imagine nothing bad is going to happen. If something, we usually say, I would rather things go wrong when I have obeyed. Like I'll rather obey and everything goes haywire. But I'm glad I obeyed.
Yeah.
Rather than staying in that space. And sometimes staying in that space is comfortable. Sometimes staying in that space is beautiful. Like it makes much more sense. But obedience is always greater. Bible says that obedience is better than sacrifice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that might be like to you out there where you're struggling with an instruction, big or small, and you're just like, God, this makes zero sense. And like she said, a lot of times the instruction doesn't make sense. Sometimes you will find out maybe months later, years later, why God had you do it. But sometimes there will be literally no other reason than God wants to test how obedient you can be. And it's all to make sure that like when he gets to the place where he's trusting you with bigger things, you will be quick to obey and you'll be quick to be like, okay, God, like I trust you in everything that you've ever asked me to do, whether it made sense or not. It always led to me growing or me like walking in purpose. And so, yeah, like just do it. Honestly, do it scared. You'd rather do it scared than find out, the consequence of not doing it. And also a lot of people walk in delay because of disobedience. Like you might have been given an instruction and you think you know better than what God is asking you to do. And so as a result, like nothing is working in your life. And if you had just obeyed, so much more would have opened up for you. But because you chose to know better than God, like you're now in a season where nothing makes sense and it will never make sense until you get back to that place of, okay, Lord, guide me this time, I'm willing. And yeah, I think it's very interesting that you've touched on spiritual authority and all of that. I feel like, stay tuned for episode 4. I feel like we'll probably dive into all things spiritual authority and what that looks like, the extremities of it, like what it's about, how to navigate that. And yeah.
Right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Please give us your feedback. We really, really, really love your feedback. But please, Wachuka, to threaten. But yeah.
I haven't received threats. I feel like it's the people you're hanging around. I've only
Let me tell you, on
positive
Sunday,
feedback,
no
literally.
threats of, if you guys stop, you're going to have a problem. I'm like, okay, guys, I'm sorry. We're going to try our best. But please continue giving us the feedback, what you'd like us to discuss, if there are questions that you want us to actually tackle. Because this is a conversation. We're not coming here to preach. We're not coming here to give you our POVs. We're just coming to have real, honest conversation. So please tell us what you want us to discuss. Also, if you're listening to this on Spotify, follow, like, comment, and do what others do on Spotify. See you in episode 4.